There is a moment in every day when the world is silent, when distractions are asleep, when excuses have no voice. That moment is early morning. And if you ever choose to wake up at 4 a.m., you are not just waking up early, you are waking up to yourself. Before the sun rises, before the world begins to demand your attention, there is a rare kind of silence that exists only for those who choose to meet it. This silence is not empty. It is full of answers, clarity, and strength. It is the silence that allows you to hear your own thoughts without interruption, without judgment, without noise. In those early hours, when everything around you is still, your mind becomes clear and your heart becomes honest. Early silence teaches you to slow down in a world that constantly pushes you to rush. Throughout the day, your thoughts are pulled in 1,000 directions: notifications, responsibilities, expectations, and comparisons. But in silence, your mind is no longer reacting, it is reflecting. You are not responding to the world, you are reconnecting with yourself. This is where awareness is born, and awareness is the first step toward real change. In the quiet of early morning, emotions rise that you often ignore during busy hours. Unhealed pain, hidden fears, unspoken dreams, all gently surface when there is no distraction to bury them. This is not weakness, this is courage. Facing yourself in silence builds emotional strength. It teaches you that you don't need to escape discomfort. You can sit with it, understand it, and grow beyond it. Silence also sharpens focus. When there is no external noise, your inner voice becomes clearer. Decisions that felt confusing begin to make sense. Priorities align naturally. You stop chasing everything and start choosing what truly matters. This clarity is powerful because it shapes how you move through the rest of the day. A calm morning creates a focused mind, and a focused mind creates purposeful action. There is a deep sense of healing in early silence. It allows your nervous system to rest, your thoughts to settle, and your soul to breathe. Instead of waking up already exhausted by stress, you wake up grounded. This calm becomes your armor for the day. No matter how loud the world gets later, you carry that inner stillness with you. Early silence also strengthens discipline. Choosing quiet over comfort trains the mind to lead rather than follow. You begin to understand that peace is not found in running away from life, but in preparing for it. Each morning spent in silence becomes a reminder that you are capable of controlling your time, your energy, and your direction. In this silence, gratitude grows naturally. You begin to notice small blessings, your breath, your strength, the chance to begin again. Gratitude softens the heart and shifts the mindset from lack to abundance. When your day begins with gratitude, your challenges feel lighter and your resilience grows stronger. Most importantly, early silence reconnects you with purpose. It reminds you why you started, why you continue, and why you must not give up. In the stillness, you realize that you are not behind, broken, or lost. You are becoming. And sometimes all it takes to move forward is a quiet moment where you finally listen to yourself. Most people wait to feel motivated before they begin, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes, influenced by mood, comfort, and circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, does not wait for permission. It moves even when the heart feels heavy and the mind feels tired. Discipline is the quiet decision to show up, especially on the days when you don't feel like it. Discipline is an act of self-respect. It is choosing your future over your present comfort. When you train yourself to act without waiting for motivation, you build trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to your own growth, you strengthen your confidence. Not the loud confidence that seeks approval, but the calm confidence that knows its worth. Motivation often depends on results, but discipline focuses on process. You may not see immediate change, but discipline teaches patience. It reminds you that progress is happening even when it is invisible. Growth is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is silent consistency, repeated daily, that changes everything. Discipline also creates freedom. While it may feel restrictive at first, it eventually removes chaos from your life. When your actions are guided by discipline, you no longer waste energy debating whether to start. The decision has already been made. You act with clarity, and clarity brings peace. There will be days when emotions are heavy and doubts feel louder than belief. Discipline carries you through those moments. It becomes the bridge between who you are now and who you are becoming. It does not demand perfection, it demands commitment. And commitment is far more powerful than temporary enthusiasm. When you rely on discipline, you stop making excuses. You begin to understand that circumstances are not always within your control, but effort is. Discipline teaches responsibility without self-criticism. You learn to hold yourself accountable with kindness rather than punishment. Discipline strengthens the mind. Each small act of consistency trains your brain to endure discomfort. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. Early mornings, focused work, and intentional habits stop feeling like sacrifices and start feeling like identity. You don't force yourself anymore. You simply do what aligns with who you are becoming. Motivation is emotional, but discipline is spiritual. It is rooted in purpose, not mood. It reminds you why you started long after the excitement fades. When motivation disappears, discipline remains, steady and reliable. Discipline also teaches humility. It keeps you grounded, reminding you that success is built, not wished for. It allows you to move forward without needing validation or applause. You learn to work quietly, trusting that consistency will speak louder than words. In the end, motivation may inspire you to begin, but discipline is what transforms your life. It shapes character, builds resilience, and creates results that last. When you choose discipline first, motivation eventually follows, drawn to the strength you've already built. The way you begin your morning quietly decides the direction of your entire life. Before the world reaches for you, before responsibilities, opinions, and demands begin to pull you apart, there is a small window of time that belongs only to you. When you own that time, you begin to own yourself. And when you own yourself, you gain control over the life you are creating. Most people wake up already reacting, checking phones, rushing through routines, mentally overwhelmed before the day has even started. In that rush, life begins to control them instead of the other way around. Owning your morning means shifting from reaction to intention. It means choosing how your energy flows instead of letting the world decide for you. A calm, intentional morning sets the emotional tone for the day. When you start with stillness, clarity follows. Your thoughts become organized, your emotions settle, and your priorities become clear. You stop carrying unnecessary stress because you have already grounded yourself before chaos enters. This inner stability becomes your strength as the day unfolds. Owning your morning also builds discipline and self-trust. When you consistently wake up for yourself, you reinforce the belief that your goals matter. You prove to yourself that you are capable of consistency even when no one is watching. This daily commitment strengthens your confidence, not through words, but through action. Morning ownership allows space for growth. Whether you choose to reflect, read, plan, or simply sit in silence, you are feeding your mind before the world feeds it noise. This habit shapes your thinking. You become more focused, more patient, and more aware. Over time, this awareness influences every decision you make. When you own your morning, you stop feeling behind in life. You begin the day with a sense of accomplishment, no matter how small. That feeling carries forward, creating momentum. Instead of chasing time, you feel aligned with it, and alignment brings peace. Morning ownership is not about perfection or strict routines. It is about presence. Even a short period of intentional time can transform your mindset. What matters is consistency, not duration. Showing up daily creates a rhythm that supports growth. As this practice deepens, you notice a shift in how you respond to challenges. You become less reactive and more thoughtful. Stress no longer controls your behavior because you have already strengthened your inner calm. You begin to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Owning your morning also strengthens purpose. It reminds you of who you are becoming and why you are walking this path. Each morning becomes a quiet reaffirmation of your values. You no longer feel lost because you reconnect with your direction daily. Life does not change in one dramatic moment. It changes in small, intentional choices repeated every day. Owning your morning is one of those choices. When you take control of the first hours of your day, you gradually take control of your mindset, your habits, and your future. And without realizing it, by owning your morning, you begin to own your life. Pain is often misunderstood. It is seen as something to escape, something to fear, something that signals weakness. But pain is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of awareness. Pain arrives to wake you up, to shake you out of comfort, and to show you what still needs healing. It does not come to destroy you. It comes to shape you. Every painful experience carries a lesson, even when it feels unbearable. Pain strips away illusions and forces honesty. It reveals what truly matters and what never did. In moments of pain, masks fall, pretenses fade, and the truth becomes impossible to ignore. This truth, though uncomfortable, becomes the foundation of purpose. Purpose is often born in struggle. It grows in the space where questions arise and certainty disappears. Pain pushes you to search deeper, beyond surface desires, into the core of who you are. It asks you to redefine strength, success, and meaning. Through pain, you learn that purpose is not always about achieving something external. Sometimes it is about becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Persistence is what connects pain to purpose. Without persistence, pain turns into bitterness. With persistence, pain transforms into wisdom. Persistence is the quiet decision to keep going, even when progress is slow and hope feels distant. It is not loud or dramatic. It is steady and enduring. There will be days when pain makes you question your worth and purpose makes you feel distant. Persistence is what carries you through those days. It reminds you that growth does not require constant strength. It requires consistency. Even showing up imperfectly is an act of courage. Pain teaches empathy. When you have felt broken, you understand others more deeply. This understanding shapes purpose beyond self-interest. You begin to live not just for achievement, but for impact. Your experiences become tools to guide, support, and inspire others, even without words. Purpose gives pain meaning. It turns suffering into fuel. Instead of asking why something happened to you, you begin to ask what it is shaping you for. This shift in perspective changes everything. Pain no longer defines you, it refines you. Persistence builds resilience. Each time you continue despite discomfort, you strengthen your inner core. You learn that setbacks are not signals to stop, but reminders to adapt. Persistence teaches patience, trust, and faith in the process, even when the outcome is unclear. Over time, pain loses its power to break you. Purpose gives you direction, and persistence gives you momentum. Together, they create transformation. You realize that what once hurt you deeply is now what drives you forward. And in that realization, strength is no longer something you search for. It is something you recognize within yourself. There comes a point in life when merely surviving is no longer enough. Survival mode keeps you moving, but it does not let you live. It is reactive, exhausting, and driven by fear. You wake up just to get through the day, carrying the weight of responsibilities, memories, and unresolved pain. In survival, you are constantly responding to life instead of shaping it. Survival teaches endurance, but it often steals awareness. You become so focused on getting through the next moment that you forget to ask where you are going. Days blur together, and purpose feels distant. You do what needs to be done, not what aligns with who you are becoming. This is not failure, it is a phase, but it is not meant to be permanent. Moving from survival to intention begins with awareness. It starts when you realize that just existing is not the same as living. Intention invites choice back into your life. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you begin to respond with thought and clarity. You start asking meaningful questions. What matters to me? What kind of life am I building? What energy am I carrying forward? Intention brings direction. Even small intentional actions create a sense of control and calm. When you choose how to spend your time, your energy, and your attention, life feels less overwhelming. You stop scattering yourself across endless demands and begin focusing on what truly supports your growth. This shift does not happen overnight. Survival patterns are deeply rooted in fear and protection. Intention requires courage, the courage to slow down, to reflect, and to face uncomfortable truths. It asks you to heal rather than just cope. Healing is not always easy, but it is necessary for growth. Living with intention changes your relationship with pain. Pain no longer defines your identity, it informs your choices. Instead of repeating cycles of exhaustion, you begin to build routines that nurture strength and clarity. Each intentional decision becomes an act of self-respect. Intention also deepens connection. When you are no longer operating on autopilot, you become more present with others. Conversations feel meaningful. Boundaries become clearer. You learn that saying no is sometimes an act of love for yourself and others. As intention grows, so does confidence. You trust yourself more because your actions align with your values. This alignment creates inner peace. You no longer feel pulled in conflicting directions because you are grounded in purpose. Transitioning from survival to intention does not erase challenges. Life remains unpredictable. But intention gives you stability within uncertainty. It allows you to move through difficulty with clarity instead of panic. Survival keeps you alive, but intention allows you to live with meaning. When you choose intention, you stop running from life and start walking toward it with awareness, strength, and purpose. Before the world wakes up, before noise, opinions, and expectations begin to compete for your attention, there is a sacred window of time where your mind is most open, most honest, and most powerful. In these early moments, your thoughts are not yet shaped by pressure or comparison. This is when the mind can be trained with clarity instead of chaos. Throughout the day, the mind is constantly reacting. It absorbs information, stress, and emotions without rest. By morning, if you immediately expose it to noise, it becomes defensive rather than focused. Training the mind early is about strengthening it before it has to protect itself. It is preparation, not escape. In these quiet hours, the mind is receptive. Habits formed here go deeper because distractions are minimal. Whether you choose reflection, reading, planning, or stillness, you are setting mental boundaries for the day ahead. You decide what thoughts are allowed to stay and which ones must be released. This awareness creates control. Training the mind early also builds emotional resilience. When you begin the day grounded, external challenges lose their power to overwhelm you. Stressful moments feel manageable because your mind has already been anchored in calm. You respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. The mind learns through repetition. Each morning you choose discipline over comfort. You teach your brain endurance. You learn that discomfort is temporary and focus is a skill that can be developed. Over time, clarity replaces confusion and confidence replaces doubt. Early mental training also sharpens intention. Instead of being pulled by urgency, you move with purpose. Goals feel achievable because your thoughts are organized. You begin to trust your decisions because they are rooted in awareness rather than pressure. These early moments strengthen inner dialogue. You become conscious of how you speak to yourself. Harsh self-criticism softens into understanding. Fear is acknowledged without being allowed to lead. This shift in internal language shapes emotional health. When the mind is trained early, distractions lose their grip. You become less dependent on validation and more connected to inner strength. The noise of the world may grow louder as the day progresses, but it no longer controls you. Training the mind before the world wakes up is also an act of self-respect. It is choosing to invest in your inner world before giving your energy to the outer one. This choice builds balance. You give from fullness rather than exhaustion. Over time, this practice changes identity. You no longer see yourself as someone struggling to keep up, but as someone prepared to lead their own life. When the world finally wakes up, your mind is already steady, focused, and strong, ready to move forward with clarity instead of chaos. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and effortless. It asks nothing from you and promises temporary relief. Consistency, however, demands commitment. It requires you to show up repeatedly, even when the excitement fades and the results are slow. While comfort keeps you relaxed in the moment, consistency quietly shapes the future you will eventually live in. Growth never happens in comfort. Comfort protects habits, even the ones that limit you. It convinces you to wait, to delay, to choose ease over effort. Consistency challenges this mindset. It teaches you to act despite discomfort, to move forward without needing perfect conditions. This is where real change begins. Choosing consistency means choosing discipline over mood. Some days you will feel inspired, and many days you will not. Consistency does not ask how you feel, it asks who you want to become. Every small action taken daily, no matter how insignificant it seems, compounds into transformation over time. Consistency builds trust with yourself. When you follow through, you prove that your word matters. This self-trust strengthens confidence, not the loud kind that seeks attention, but the quiet kind that knows it can be relied upon. Each repeated effort reinforces belief in your own capability. Comfort avoids resistance, but consistency embraces it. Resistance is not a sign of failure, it is evidence of growth. Each time you push through discomfort, your capacity expands. What once felt difficult becomes familiar, and what once felt impossible becomes routine. Consistency also creates stability. When life feels unpredictable, consistent habits offer grounding. They become anchors that hold you steady. You may not control everything around you, but you can control the actions you repeat daily. This control creates peace. Choosing consistency reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Identity change is powerful because behavior follows belief. Once you believe you are consistent, your actions naturally align. Comfort is short-term. It fades quickly and leaves regret behind. Consistency is long-term. It builds results, slowly but sustainably. It teaches patience and resilience. You learn that progress is not about speed, but direction. There will be days when comfort calls loudly. On those days, consistency is a quiet decision. It does not demand perfection, it demands effort. Even showing up imperfectly keeps momentum alive. Over time, consistency transforms effort into habit, and habit into lifestyle. What once required willpower becomes natural. The struggle fades, but the growth remains. Comfort may feel good now, but consistency creates a life that feels good later. Many people wait for a miracle to arrive, believing that one day life will suddenly change, pain will disappear, and everything will fall into place. They look outward for rescue, hoping someone or something will save them. But the most powerful transformation happens when you realize that you are not meant to wait for a miracle. You are meant to become one. Becoming your own miracle begins with responsibility. It is the moment you stop handing your power to circumstances, past wounds, or other people. You accept that while you may not control everything that happened to you, you do control how you rise from it. This realization is not easy, but it is freeing. Being your own miracle does not mean having a perfect life. It means choosing courage in moments of fear and hope in moments of despair. It means taking small steps forward when everything in you wants to stay still. Miracles are not always dramatic. Often they are quiet decisions made repeatedly. Each time you choose healing over bitterness, you create a miracle. Each time you choose growth over comfort, you create a miracle. These choices may go unnoticed by others, but they reshape your inner world. And when the inner world changes, the outer world follows. Becoming your own miracle requires patience. Transformation takes time. There will be days when progress feels invisible and effort feels wasted. In those moments, faith becomes essential. Not faith in instant results, but faith in the process. Faith that consistency, even when unseen, is working. Your struggles do not disqualify you from becoming your own miracle. They prepare you. Pain deepens compassion. Failure builds wisdom. Loss teaches strength. Each experience adds a layer of resilience that shapes who you are becoming. What once broke you now becomes the foundation of your strength. Self-belief is central to this transformation. When you begin to trust yourself, you stop seeking validation from the outside. You no longer wait for permission to grow. You move forward with quiet confidence, knowing that your effort matters. Becoming your own miracle also means forgiving yourself. You release guilt for the times you didn't know better. You honor your journey instead of judging it. This self-compassion allows healing to flow freely. Over time, you realize that the miracle was never external. It was the strength you built, the courage you discovered, and the persistence you practiced. You didn't wait to be saved. You showed up for yourself. And in that realization, you understand something powerful. The miracle you were waiting for was always within you, waiting for you to believe, act, and rise. Throughout this journey, the message is clear. Transformation begins in the quiet, disciplined, and intentional choices we make each day. Waking up at 4 a.m. is not just about adjusting your schedule. It is a commitment to yourself, a declaration that you are willing to face discomfort, embrace discipline, and train your mind before the world demands your attention. It is in these early hours that clarity is born, habits are strengthened, and purpose becomes visible. By prioritizing consistency over comfort, leaning into pain as a guide rather than an obstacle, and taking ownership of your mornings, you begin to shape not only your day, but your life. When you cultivate discipline, intention, persistence, and self-belief, you are no longer waiting for circumstances to change. You are becoming the force of change yourself. This is the essence of true empowerment. The realization that your life is not a series of accidents or waiting for miracles, but a reflection of the courage, focus, and resilience you choose to practice every single day. Wake up early, show up for yourself, and step into the life you were always meant to create.